With landscape design by Rodrigo Oliveira and architecture by Bernardes Arquitetura, Casa LAP emerges from a very particular condition within. São Paulo's urban fabric, a residence surrounded by high walls, built on a compact site with the house positioned very close to its boundaries. Rather than treating these limits as rigid barriers, the landscape design transforms verticality into vegetal depth, creating a more fluid relationship between architecture, garden, and city. The project is guided by the naturalistic approach that has defined Rodrigo Oliveira's practice for more than 3 decades. Inspired by the observation of the Atlantic forest and Brazilian woodlands, the garden seeks to evoke the feeling of vegetation growing spontaneously. Without overly controlled drawings or rigid compositions, different tropical species are arranged in dense layers of texture, height, and volume, creating visual depth, shade, permeability, and a sense of immersion that completely transforms the experience of the residents. The architecture enhances this dialogue by incorporating planted terraces and openings within the façade, brise-soleils that allow the vegetation to extend beyond the house itself. The greenery spills outward and becomes part of the surrounding streetscape, turning the facade into a living surface in constant transformation. One of the project's central elements is precisely the attempt to dissolve the rigid intersection between horizontal and vertical planes, faced with walls reaching up to 7 meters high and positioned very close to the structure. The landscape strategy works with different vegetal densities to create continuity and depth, avoiding the feeling of enclosure while producing a more immersive atmosphere within a reduced scale. On the rooftop, the garden takes on another important role. In contrast to the traditional logic of roofing, the space becomes part of the daily life of the residents as a point from which to observe the tree canopies and the surrounding landscape. The rooftop establishes a broader connection with the neighborhood and reinforces the presence of vegetation across different levels of the house. More than framing the architecture, the landscape design shapes the experience of Casa LAP. The garden creates breathing space, builds visual depth, and transforms the perception of the home's boundaries, revealing one of the defining characteristics of Rodrigo Oliveira's work: landscapes that seem to have always existed, even when newly created. In 2026, the project received international recognition with the IF Design Award in the Landscape Design category, one of the world's leading design awards.